Hey Avenue Student Ministry, my name is Jake and I get to serve as a student minister, and I really wanted to take some time today to talk about my favorite Thanksgiving memories. Thanksgiving happened yesterday, and so it's something that should be on all of our minds still, that should be fresh on all of our minds. Some of my sweetest Thanksgiving memories ever come from this little house in Tiburon, New Mexico. My grandparents owned this house. My parents and my aunts and my uncles and my dad and my grandparents built this house in the early 70s, and then we would go up there as a family every year for Thanksgiving. It's like an hour south of Cloudcroft, New Mexico. You just go way up into the mountains of New Mexico through the Abraham Lincoln National Forest, and there you get to the house. And so it's a really cool atmosphere because you get to see elk and you get to see deer and you get to see all these kind of animals that you don't normally get to see being in Big Spring, Texas, where I grew up, or even being in Waco, Texas. We don't usually get to see a whole lot of elk walking around the street, right? But we got to see elk all the time there, and so it was a really cool just atmosphere, really cool place to be. And we would go up there with our whole family every single year. I had some sweet memories of these times together. One of my cousins has her birthday the day after. It's like November 27th or something like that. And so we would always celebrate her birthday as a family together in this house. We would break a piñata, or we would do whatever it was that she wanted to do for her birthday together as a family. We would go and play a family football game, a two-hand touch football game on the golf course there in Tiburon. And sometimes it would get a little more physical than that. We had this little spot down below the house where deer would come up because we had a deer feeder. And so one time I went and got some deer corn in my hand and walked out there real slow and had a deer eat out of my hand. We would go and cut down trees and chop firewood together. We would do we would play golf together as a family. And I remember when I was like 8, I played the entire course with a driver only. That was my putter, that was my chipping iron, that was everything. And so some sweet memories come from these times of just being around our family, or being around my family. There are some amazing stories that I could tell you. Like for instance, one time, probably the memory that's most vivid in my mind, all the kids would sleep in the living room of this house, and I had like 7 or 8 cousins, and so some of us would sleep on the floor, some of us would sleep on the couch. And one night it was really windy outside, and so pine trees were kind of blowing everywhere, and stuff would hit the side of the house and hit the windows, and so none of us were sleeping real good. And then we just heard this really loud creaking on the deck, and so we thought maybe a tree had fallen into it or something, and then something hit the door, just, and it was super loud. We were like, what the heck is that? And then we heard some noises like nails scratching on the door. And so we decided to go upstairs and turn on the light to the porch and look at it. And there was a bear walking around on the porch of this house. And it wasn't like a small bear. Well, granted, I was like 8, so any bear I thought was massive. But there was this bear walking around on the porch, and we had this glass doors over here. And so we went downstairs, opened the blinds to this glass door, and watched this bear walk across right there. For some reason, it didn't look at us, but it just walked across the porch, went down the stairs, and went off and did its thing. And so, like, that was a crazy memory that I got to experience with my entire family. But the thing is that I remember most about all of those experiences, about all of the different stories that went on, is the time that I got to spend with my family. Thanksgiving can be a crazy time, and often we think of Thanksgiving Day as just an opportunity to gorge ourselves with some amazing food. Or maybe you hate Thanksgiving food, that's okay too. But the real point of Thanksgiving is to be thankful for the family that you have, or thankful for the situation that you're in. I got to do that by just being with family, and I cherish those memories. So I pray for you that you will cherish the time that you get to spend with your family. Even if your family is hard to deal with, or even if your family fights a lot, or even if your family is constantly doing something that annoys you, don't take your family for granted. Because one day maybe you'll live 18 hours away and you won't get to see them very often. Or maybe one day they'll move to the other side of the country. Or maybe one day you'll live in a different country and you won't get to see your family very often. Or you won't get to spend as much time with your family. And you'll miss these moments that you get to spend with each other constantly. So don't neglect this time that you have together. Don't neglect the family gathering together and being thankful for one another and being thankful for the time that you have with one another. My granddad passed away when I was a senior in high school, and I often thought the times that we got to spend together in junior high and even in elementary school were like, Granddad, I don't want to hear about the times where Cokes were a nickel anymore, or like I don't want to hear about all of those stories anymore. I just want to go and eat, or I just want to go and play football, or I just want to go and talk to my friends or talk to my girlfriend or whatever that is. And I neglected the time that I got to spend with my granddad. I wish that I would have taken more time to sit with my granddad and hear the stories about the past and hear the stories about how Jesus made him who he is or who he was, and how all of these things in his life brought him to where he was and what that meant to him. So that's just one example, but don't take for granted the time that you get to spend with your family, whether it's with your grandparents or your mom and dad or your siblings. Don't take it for granted, because sometime you may not have it. I want to ask you a question today, and I want you to respond in the comments below, or you can DM us or whatever, but I want you to tell us about your most memorable Thanksgiving memory. Whether it's a bear walking on the porch at the house that you were at, or whether it's that one time that you ate way too much cranberry stuffing and then you threw up everywhere, but it was all cranberries and it looked weird, or whatever your story is. Whatever your most memorable Thanksgiving story is, drop it in the comments or DM us, and we would love to hear about it. And maybe we can talk about some of those awesome memories on Sunday morning. I love you guys, and I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. Make sure to go spend some time with your family. See you later. Bye.